Good evening. There are a lot of really good questions that were posted into the exam 2 review problems, so I'm going to go through each of those individually and hopefully help you guys out with some of the problems that you might have been struggling on from the homework. So this first question comes from Scott, where we're looking at the price elasticity of demand. I can't remember which number this is on the homework assignment, but let's break this one down. Now it says that in December 2014, the average price of gasoline in the United States was $2.50 per gallon, and consumers bought 7% more gasoline than they had during April. Now, first, what I'm going to do is denote which ones are going to be my P old and my P new. So, if December 2014, this is going to be my new price, and in April of 2014 is going to be my old price. So it says, based on these numbers, what was the price elasticity of demand? Because we see that consumers purchased 7% more gasoline. Now we can use our formula. ED is equal to the percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in price. Now we do have our percentage change in quantity demand, but we don't have our percentage change in price. So what I would do is use our midpoint formula. But what we can do is substitute in this 7% right here for that percentage change in QD. And then our denominator is just going to be the bottom half of that midpoint formula, which is just P new minus P old over half of P new plus P old. And I apologize if I'm writing crooked. This tablet is not the easiest to work with. So I have 0.07. My new price I already denoted was 250, so 2.5 minus 3.6 over half of the sum of those two, 2.5 plus 3.6, and then I would get 0.07, and then when you solve for this bottom part, it should come out to be negative 0.36. Now if you're going to do this in one stroke on the calculator, make sure that you have your parentheses in the right places, or else you'll just mess it up. So 0.07 divided by negative 0.36 is going to give us negative 0.19. If we were to take the absolute value, we would see that this good will be inelastic. And it's inelastic because when you take the absolute value, we see that it falls between 0 and 1. So the way that you can interpret this in words, this means that a 1% increase in price would lead to a 0.19% decrease in the quantity demanded. So consumers aren't really responsive to those changes in price. So let's look at the next question. When looking at the table of quantity and marginal utility and determining the optimal consumption bundle, so question number 74. Alright, so this is question number 74, looking at finding the optimal consumption bundle for this consumer. So let's break this one down. So we see that Jay has $7 to spend. So Jay has $7 to spend. The price of burgers is $2 and the price of Pepsi is going to be $1. Now the table doesn't give us our marginal utilities per dollar, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in, because that's how we're going to find our optimal consumption bundle. The first condition for our equimarginal principle or equimarginal rule means that you have to find the quantities where marginal utility per dollar are equal. So let's find the marginal utility per dollar for both burgers and then also for Pepsi. So if the price of burgers is $2, I'm just going to divide my marginal utility by 2. So I'll have 10 right here, 7, 5, 1.5, 0.5, negative 2.5, and then negative 5. Now you'll also notice our law of diminishing marginal utility is applying right here. We see that as you consume more burgers, the additional satisfaction that you receive is going to go down. And then also for our marginal utility per dollar for the Pepsi, this one's going to be an easy one because the price of Pepsi is $1, so this is actually just going to be the same. So 30 over 1 would give us 30, 10, 7, 5, 1, 0, and then negative 4. So let's find where our marginal utilities per dollar are equal. So I have this 10 right here and a 10 right here. I also have a 7 and a 7. I guess I should have did that in a different color. And then I have this 5 and this other 5. So let's look at our 3 combinations. So I can buy 1 burger and 2 Pepsis. I can buy 2 burgers and 3 Pepsis. Or I can buy 3 burgers and 4 Pepsis. So these are all the combinations where my marginal utility per dollar are equal. Now the second condition is that the amount that we spend on on this bundle must equal our budget. So if I buy 1 burger at the price of $2 and 2 Pepsis, that means I will be spending on this first combination $4. On the second combination, 2 burgers at the price of $2 is going to give us $4 plus this 3. I will be spending $7 on this second bundle. And then 3 burgers at the price of $2 each is going to be 6 plus 4 Pepsis means that this bundle will cost us $10. Now going back to our statement here, we see that he only has $7 to spend, which means that this is going to be our optimal consumption bundle. 2 burgers and 3 Pepsis. So if the amount of income a consumer has to spend on goods and services is known as the budget constraint, what would the definition of purchasing power be? Okay, so that's actually a really good question. Now, purchasing power, typically we talk about that when we're looking at inflation. That's when that comes into play. Because with the purchasing power, what we'll see is that you can actually lose your purchasing power when prices go up, and then you gain purchasing power when prices go down. With the budget constraint, that's the fixed amount that you have to spend at this given point in time. So that's just the main difference. So we talk about purchasing power a lot more in macro when we're looking once again at inflation and our consumer price index and things like that, and you're making those adjustments. So please explain the concept so you can understand this. So the price elasticity of beer is negative 0.3 and income elasticity of beer is 0.09. This means that an increase in the price of beer will lead to an increase in the revenue for beer sellers, and beer is a normal good. Okay, so let's actually write this one down. So the price elasticity of beer, so we would say that ED is equal to negative 0.3. And then also the income elasticity is going to be equal to 0.09. So it says an increase in the price of beer will lead to an increase in revenue for beer sellers, and beer is a normal good. Now, the reason why that's the case is because we see with the with the price elasticity of negative 0.3, that means that beer will be classified as inelastic. And we know that it's inelastic because if you take the absolute value, you would see that it falls between 0 and 1. Which means that as the price of beer goes up, consumers don't really cut back that much on it. Similar to like some of the other inelastic goods that were discussed in this chapter, like cigarettes and gasoline. As the price of those goods go up, or large increases in the price lead to very small decreases in quantity demand. So when we go to our pricing strategies for firms, so pricing strategies, if I can write it. All right. So if you are a manager and you're selling an inelastic good, or the product that you sell is inelastic, what you want to do is you want to increase the price to increase your total revenue. Because as you increase the price, consumers may cut back, but it's going to be just a small amount. And what we see is that large changes in price lead to very small changes in quantity demand, which means that your total revenue would actually increase. So that's why gasoline, since consumers are always going to buy gasoline, if gas stations were to increase the price, we would still buy gasoline, so that would actually increase their total revenue. Now, if you have an elastic good, you would want to decrease the price in order to increase your total revenue. Because with elastic goods, what tends to happen is small decreases in price lead to very large increases in quantity demand. With elastic, that means that consumers are very responsive to changes in price. So when a good goes on sale, we see that consumers tend to purchase a large quantity of those goods, or a little bit more than they would previously. So consumers are very responsive to those changes in price. So in order to increase your total revenue, if your good is elastic, you would want to decrease the price. And then also the second part of that question says that with income elasticity of beer being a 0.9, we know this will be considered a normal good. Because it's a positive number. So anytime EI is greater than 0, it's a normal good, and we can even further subcategorize this as a necessity. So if it's between 0 and 1, we can also further subcategorize it as a necessity. So I hope that helps Scott and Jim. All right, so explain why this statement is false versus true, or please rephrase the statement to make it true. So suppose the absolute value of the price elasticity of demand for basketball game tickets on your campus is greater than 1. Increasing ticket prices will increase total revenue from ticket sales. All right, so first let's categorize what basketball tickets would be considered, or basketball games. So if it says that the absolute value is greater than 1, we know that anytime we have an ED, when you take the absolute value that is greater than 1, that means that that good is going to be considered elastic. Elastic. So increasing ticket price will increase total revenue from ticket sales. So as we just talked about, whenever goods are elastic, we just mentioned to increase total revenue, you would want to decrease the price. So, in that, if you kind of think about it, basketball games, just think about it from Western standpoint, would be considered an elastic good because there's tons of other things that students can be doing besides going to a basketball game. So we talked about some of the factors that influence the elasticity of demand is the availability of substitutes. All right. So increasing ticket prices will increase total revenue from ticket sales. So that's why it's false. And the way that you can rephrase it, it would be decreasing ticket prices would increase total revenue from ticket sales. So I thought elasticity meant a change in price will result in a change in demand. So I'm confused as to why the answer to this is inelastic versus elastic. When the price of tortilla chips rose by 10%, the quantity of tortilla chips sold fell by 4%. So the demand for tortilla chips is what? Now, you're right when we talk about elasticity. Okay, so a change in price does always result or cause a change in demand. Now, elasticity tells us by how much, though. So, how responsive are those consumers going to be to that change in price? Now, if we go back to our elasticity formula, ED is going to be the percentage change in QD divided by our percentage change in price. So we can just substitute these values in that we have. So we see that quantity of tortilla chips sold fell by 4%. We have a -4 in our numerator. And the price rose by 10%. So we have a +10. So ED is going to be equal to -0.4. And once again, if it's between, or if you take the absolute value and it falls between 0 and 1, that means that that good is going to be considered inelastic. All right. And that was the last question. So if you guys have any other questions or if you need me to further clarify anything else, please let me know. Shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. That way you guys can be thoroughly prepped for the exam tomorrow. Good luck.